Welcome to our code chat session. Today we have Laura Piaggio, who is an anthropologist from Sanar Foundation, Argentina. We also have Matias Satse, Health and Nutrition Officer from UNICEF Mexico. And I am your moderator, Constance Ching, technical consultant on code implementation and advocacy from Alive and Thrive. Thanks for being here today. So we know that in May, the groundbreaking World Health Assembly resolution on digital marketing of breast milk substitutes and other products was adopted by all member states. So we're very happy to have both of you here to talk about code monitoring, using digital technologies, and also how to really do code monitoring sustainably. So first of all, I just want to congratulate on SANAR's monitoring report. Sonar actually adopted the Observamas code monitoring digital platform a few months ago. They've launched it a few months ago, and then they used the findings from Observamas to compile a report, a monitoring report. So maybe I will start asking Laura first. How has the digital monitoring platform Observamas, which consists of an AI auto detector, Vivid, and a crowdsourced reporting form, helped in monitoring? Because I know that Sanar or you yourself have been doing code monitoring for a while. So having this platform with the two main tools, how has that helped?
Okay, thank you, Constance. Thanks for the invitation to you and to Alive and Thrive. From Sana Foundation, we were doing different actions of monitoring the code before and the national laws in Argentina. We had published a report called Formula for Deception, but we have noticed a great difference from the digital platform called Observamas, that means Observatorio del Marketing de Sucedáneos, because the amount of entries that the AI is able to collect is much more than we can do manually. And another important thing is the help to classify the entries. So it also makes the analysis of the collection of the data easier and more efficient. For us, it was a great difference because of the speed in the collection of the data and the facility in the classification of the violations. Mm-hmm. Though it's a big work that we have had verifying the entries, because the AI tool has to be improved, and we have to go on teaching the algorithm. But though we publish an entry when it was vetted by an operator, it took an amount of work, of human work. Mm-hmm. But I think that the data and the quality of the data, the amount of the data, and the facility to classify the entries is a big difference. Now, and another thing that is very interesting in the platform is the crowdsourced form for citizen reports, because it's an easy way to report violations that you observe in the digital ecosystem or in another spaces like a supermarket, a pharmacy, a health institution, the street, and it's very friendly. The form is very friendly. So in our report, we could analyze also citizen reports. And we analyzed violations in the digital landscape, the IA searches in some pages, in Instagram, Facebook, the websites of the brands. And through citizen reports, we could have examples of another marketing strategies like influencers, publications, streamings where the product was shown, email marketing, campaigns of email marketing, another strategies that the AI wasn't coding. For us, it was, we could show different strategies in the digital marketing. And we could analyze the data and saw that Danone Nutricia Bago was the company that most violations was doing in the digital marketing. It accounted for the 40% of the violations, then Nestle, and then a local brand that is. Another thing that surprised us was that feeding bottles and teats had a lot of advertising and didn't had monitored that before.
So you have found things that from the AI detector as well as the online reporting form, which relies on citizen reporting, things that are new marketing tactics, right? It's a really impressive report, and I think we will share that in our code chat so people can access that report. I'll come back to you in a bit, and I have more follow-up questions, but I want to switch gear a little bit to Matias. We know that Mexico will be launching their own code monitoring digital platform in August, which is called Código Lactancia. Could you give us a little overview of this code monitoring digital platform and what you hope to achieve with this platform?
Yes, of course, Constance, and also thank you very much for inviting us. And yes, we're very exciting. Next week, on the 5th of August, we will launch this platform together with the government, with civil society and academia. Several the decision makers have already confirmed their participation, and we hope that this launch can also be transmitted to more than all over the country. So far, more than 500 people have already confirmed. So we're very excited about that. So just to talk a little bit about this platform that was developed with FHI and UNICEF in close collaboration with national authorities and academic institutions and civil society, that basically uses artificial intelligence and crowdsourced to identify and report violation of the international code. This platform that we're developing and also app, well, it's a digital web platform and also digital application, operates through this web interface that can also be used in mobile devices. And our goal basically is to be able to make code violations more visible, to support evidence-based advocacy and enforcement, because even though the code is considered in some regulation, it is not fully understood, and not all recommendations are being taken in place. Particularly, one of the regulations that is not being in place is all the digital marketing that women caretakers are receiving through the internet. And through some studies that we have done with the National Institute of Public Health, we have evidence that they're not only receiving all this advertisement, but they're also getting confused by what is better. Many of them thinking even that that infant formula is better than human milk. And so therefore, that is something that we want to evidence, and that we want that, and we want to use this information to advocacy, for the laws to being enforced, and for there also to be special sanctions for those who don't comply with the recommendations of the code.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as you mentioned, the tool and the platform. It also reminded me of, the user acceptance testing workshops that I participated in, and co-facilitated with Sanar in Argentina together with UNICEF, and also in Mexico with UNICEF Mexico and a number of civil society organizations. And this just goes to show that a lot of times people put a lot of focus on innovative tools, digital tools, and platforms. But we can also, what I personally have found the most rewarding part of building these tools are actually, because of these tools, we are actually bringing people together because of these tools. So in these workshops, we have in Argentina, there are also a number of civil society organizations that attended. And if I remember correctly, nutrition students as well, university nutrition students who attended the user acceptance testing workshop, the UAT workshop. And in Mexico, also a coalition of civil society organizations as well as government officials from Ministry of Health and related departments also attended the workshop. So because of these tools, we're also using these tools to bring people together, to connect them first. I call it a hook effect, where it actually helps to reinvigorate people's interest or passion in code monitoring. These are actually opportunities to bring different groups of people together where they should actually be constantly talking and coordinating. And these tools can be great connectors for people and also to help them coordinate and collaborate. In Argentina, they've started using the tool to monitor. And in Mexico, they're gearing up to launch in August and getting people to use the tool. As much as we try to use technology in these tools or platforms, there's still a certain level of human resources needed to, like what Laura said, to verify the AI detected entries and to process the manual reports. How do you envision to manage that at the national level? Maybe we can start with Laura first. Like how have you guys been managing that?
Okay. I didn't talk about the project of Observamas. It was supported by UNICEF Argentina, and two civil society organizations were working in the development, Fundación Sanar and Fundeps, with another organizations from the Southeast Asia, Alive and Thrive and Kikate. In Argentina, we were a team that were betting the entries of the AI detections and the manual reports. We used to be two persons, one supervisor and one operator. And it was important to be two persons because we could discuss the cases. There was some decisions that we had to make to classify the entries. We had some doubts and we discussed them, and then we could standardize the our interpretation of the marketing strategies in what Argentinian norm, for instance, was being violated, because the law landscape in Argentina is a little complex. We don't have an umbrella law. We have many regulations of different level. Some laws, some resolutions of Ministry of Health, and other provisions of the entity in charge of enforcement. So we had to analyze some examples, but well, we could do it in a way that we learned, and we could weekly publish the entries that the AI was doing. So it was a good work. And the agreement with UNICEF ended on May. So nowadays, the platform is being administered by UNICEF Argentina. SANAR is not participating anymore.
It's thank you. It's very interesting because now you have the tool with the machine. The machine is actually making you work more regularly because without the tool, a lot of monitoring happens, but it may not be regular, frequent. It's whenever people have time and resources to do that. But because of this tool, that we think that, oh, like we can actually rely on the tool and we will do less work, it's actually making you work more and more effectively, right? Which is a good thing. It should be an ongoing regular thing. But it's interesting that way. Thanks. So, Matthias, how would you envision managing the human resources needed at the national level?
Yes, thank you very much. Basically, very similar to Argentina. In this case, we are, as I have mentioned, several organizations that are part of this Código Lactancia group from the government, but not only from the national level, but also from several state level health institutions, academia and civil society, not also only based here in Mexico City, but in different states. So we have established a two-level system, also knowing that the artificial intelligence platform has around like an 85% accuracy on detecting violations of the code. So this two-level system, the first level involves a trained focal point who conducts initial verification. So once there is a violation detection, before it is published in our webpage or application, it has to be verified before it is like published. And that when it is detected through artificial intelligence. But as you know, in our system, there is also a manual complaints that anyone can do wherever we are. For example, if we find a poster that is being financed by the industry of breast milk substitutes, then there is also a way or a format to do this complaint. And before this complaint is sent to the Ministry of Health, there is also a verification system. And once it is verified, yes, it is a violation. Both the person who did the complaint and the Ministry of Health will receive an email. And that automatically creates like a dot on the map exactly where the complaint was made. So, for example, it could be a private clinic, it could be a hospital, it could be anywhere where or in a shop that is like selling breast milk substitute and so on. So once this is sent to the Ministry of Health, then there is like this dot appearing exactly on the spot where the picture was taken. And that spot will stay there until we receive, or the administrators of this platform, now UNICEF, until we receive an email from the Ministry of Health saying action has been taken. Once action has been taken, the dot disappear, and also the person that did this complaint will receive an email saying, thanks for participating with this initiative, and action has been taken, just to make it short. So, and then there is also this group, because sometimes there is going to be some complaints which maybe the operator or the one that is validating isn't 100% sure. So those particular cases will be discussed by a technical committee that is going to be composed by government, academia, civil society, basically by this Código Lactancia group that is going to be discussed. And once it is verified, then it's going to be like uploaded in the web page, or maybe it's not a violation, so it's not going to be uploaded. But this, I also wanted to mention that this technical committee that we are creating is going to be also, if we identify, for example, that there is like a medical congress that is being financed by the industry, then together as a technical committee, we will analyze all the violations that are being taken care in that event, and together, and I repeat, government, academia, and civil society, and UNICEF will write a letter as Group Código Lactancia to the organizers, just as to say an example, to the organizers of this event, explaining them that what they're doing is wrong, and it's basically it represents a violations to the code, and also a violations to several norms and laws, national laws and norms. So that's more or less how we are thinking to verify the AI entries, and how to process them, and how to also use them to do reports, and also to do advocacy for the enforcement of our regulatory framework.
Yeah, actually, the dots that happen on the map, and I think with our post-production editing, we can insert the map into the recording here so audience can see that. But with the dots appearing on the map, it's really pressuring the enforcement agency to take action, because the map is shown to the public, so the public can actually see where there are violations reported and confirmed as violations. So it's a really intricate, well thought through system that UNICEF Mexico, in particular, Matias, has come up with. So we're very excited to see it being used live next month. We also know that SANAR, with the monitoring report that SANAR put together, there's also some enforcement actions that have resulted from the report. So Laura, would you want to talk about how the link between that monitoring and the monitoring report and the actions that result from the report?
Yes, I was hearing Matias, and in Argentina, the process of the developing of the platform was different because government is not involved. It was an initiative of civil society organizations with the support of UNICEF. So there is not a formal agreement with the entity in charge of enforcement. Here in Argentina, the entity is called ANMAT, the Administration for Medicines, Food, and Medical Technology. It's like the FDA in the United States. And it has a program that monitors and enforces the marketing of products subject to health surveillance. And it receives complaints from citizens about any kind of marketing that that people think that is violating any norm. We as civil society organizations send periodically emails telling what advertisements were violating such and such norm in the Argentine legal framework. And MAT has an agreement with Meta, and it may ask to download the advertisements. So, and Matt has answered us in many occasions that they ask Meta to download the advertisement. And then they communicate the company to stop doing that kind of advertisement. And if the violation is done again, they initiate a health summary proceeding. It's an investigation where an administrative procedure where they document the violation. It lasts a time because the company may answer and say, my interpretation is that or that, and then there are another analysis from the program in charge of the enforcement. But nowadays, we know that there are health summary proceedings going on to all the companies that are operating in Argentina. Nestlé has 3 health summary proceedings, but also Danone Nutricia Go and Remer's Ethical Nutrition, that's another company. All of them are being under this kind of investigation by the enforcement entity. But it lasts sometimes and to establish a sanction. The quicker answer is to download the advertisement, but then a procedure to establish a sanction to the company is going on.
This is really interesting. So ANMAT, the government enforcement agency, has an agreement with Meta so that it can directly download, basically requests the advertisements from Meta for ANMAT to analyze, right? This is really interesting because for many, many years when we're talking about monitoring digital marketing of breast milk substitutes and related products, the huge gap is that we are not really holding social media platforms or similar platforms accountable for hosting these promotional materials, these advertisements. Of course, the companies, the manufacturers and the distributors and the BMS and related products companies must be held accountable for the promotion. But a lot of times the digital platforms, including social media platforms where these promotional posts are posted, are also complicit in the promotion. So it's really interesting that ANMAT is actually working with Meta, but also through that holding Meta accountable for being a part of this whole web of promotion, unethical marketing, basically. That's very
yes, they don't sanction Meta. It's an ally. They ask Meta to download the advertisement.
So they have
the
to
sanction is directed to the owner of the product.
Mm-hmm. So for other countries to understand, because many other countries are also trying to monitor and to try to enforce, and we know that around the world, enforcement is the most difficult part. There's always some kind of monitoring going on in most countries on the ground, but enforcement is where most countries in the world are still it's still very challenging for most countries in the world. So when so for example in Argentina, when they find violations on social media platforms, do they go to Meta or do they go to the companies to ask them to remove these posts, or both?
They ask Meta to download the advertisement and they communicate with the company of that situation, and they ask to stop advertising in that way. For instance, in Argentina, modified milks for children under 2 years of age are considered breast milk substitutes. They are marketed with a grow up milk number 3. That product can't be advertised. So when any company do that, they are requested to stop doing that. And many of them have persisted in that action. So the health summary proceeding has been initiated.
Okay, so we can say that Argentina in this respect is ahead of many other countries because they are actually involving Meta, like social media platforms, in the process of monitoring and enforcement. Even though they are not sanctioning Meta, they are involving Meta in the sanctioning of of violations of companies violating the national law. Okay, so
Yes, as a collaborator, they are not
this is
sanctioning
this is
them.
a good way. If the country cannot or cannot yet find ways to sanction social media platforms, at least they can use the agreement or the collaboration to lead to sanctions and enforcement actions, right? So this is very important for other countries as examples, really creatively thinking out of the box. How do we involve social media platforms in the process of sanction and enforcement? Okay, so thank you very much for sharing this, because I think a lot of countries are really in need of examples, and Argentina is doing it. Um, this year's World Breastfeeding Week, sustainability is in the theme of this year's World Breastfeeding Week. So when we think about code monitoring, we know that in most countries it's kind of like it starts, it stops, it starts, it stop. Um, how do we make code monitoring sustainable? Maybe we'll start with Matthias first. If you think about Mexico, if you think about you have this Código Lactancia platform that's about to launch, how do we make code monitoring sustainable?
Yes, thank you very much. I think one of the elements that would make developing a platform like that sustainable, first of all, is to do it in collaboration with the government or with the enforcement agency. And that's what we've been trying to do in Mexico in order for there to be also like kind of like institutional ownership, not only by the government, which is our most important partner, but also in collaboration with the academia, as I said, and with the civil society. So all this platform has been developed with them, but still, so far in this case, UNICEF is paying for the maintenance. So it's true that digital platforms do require like an initial investment, as we have done. But we believe that in the medium and in the long term, the cost, the operational cost, can be reduced, and also by having all this like analysis, reporting, and data collection. If people would be hired to do this monitoring of digital platform, probably we and 24/7 days a week, probably we would need many people to do that all the time. But the fact of having like a decentralized monitoring system, we believe that it is fundamental for it to, well, and also to find a place where this platform can be allocated, ideally in a government platform. We believe that gives us the possibility of it to be sustained in the long term. But we will also need to be constantly like following up, so that there are like existing government system, and that there is like ensuring periodic training and budget lines by the government for the maintenance and of the an update of this platform. So it's definitely has the potential to be sustainable, but we're still working with the government. This platform is still allocated in a cloud somewhere in the universe, but we hope that this can be allocated one day in the platform of the Ministry of Health, particularly by the enforcement agency that is called COFEPRIS. For now, we are working with the National Center of Gender and Equity and Reproductive Health. They are the ones, the direction from the Ministry of Health in charge of the breastfeeding indicator. So they are the ones who are going to get in touch with the health centers, with the industry or the businesses that are not complying with the code. but really the enforcing agency is called COFEPRIS, which we've been looking for a meeting with them. We haven't got it yet, and it has to do because there's been like many changes going on with the decision makers. But we hope that we will have it soon, and that probably even this year, this platform will be allocated in one of those platforms.
Thank you, Matthias. As you're talking about many changes going on, it also reminds me of how in Argentina, there are also many, many changes going on in Argentina. So, Laura, with the changes going on in your country, how do you see code monitoring can be sustainable? How would you do it?
Well, the platform now is being administered by UNICEF Argentina, and he's in talks with government. But nowadays, our government is not doing investments in health and in social welfare. So it's a different situation from Mexico, very different. And that point is critical in Argentina. So we think that a key point is to have the support of civil society organizations, that civil society organizations get involved in the platform, feeding the reports, the manual reports, and using the database. I think that a very valuable point of the platform is that the information is public. You have a lot of data of violations organized, classified, and it's public information. Academy may use it for a bill for doing different papers. Civil society may use it to do advocacy for better laws in the country. We need to disseminate the existence of the platform, that it has to be better known and used by civil society to pressure, to ask some areas of the government to take action on monitoring and enforcement. But sustainability, it's a difficult question nowadays in Argentina.
Yeah, yeah. So what I'm hearing from Matthias is also the sustainability can come from saving the time cost because we have these tools and platforms. What I'm hearing from Laura is that when and then these things change all the time, right? Once when we think that, oh, we have it all, we have it kind of figured out, then politics change, governments change, the political will from government people, key people, they don't stay there forever. So that change, momentum changes, so many things change, but one thing that stay kind of constant is this, more stable is the civil society in the country. So it's almost like as I'm listening to you, Laura, and also thinking about the situation in Argentina, it almost is reminding me of the buco, the micro resistance from the ground. So if we cannot work from the top, we work from the ground. In Argentina, I mean in Mexico's case, they can work from the top because they have access to the top. They work from the top. So we work in whatever way we can to get it going. So that is important. You know, we work from the ground up, meaning we raise the awareness and then we gather the evidence from the ground up and we pressure the top to do something, because eventually the awareness is going to go out, and the pressure will be felt at the top if there's enough awareness. And which also reminds me that when we have the evidence, when we have the findings, and especially with these tools, the findings are so much more easier to extract now than before. When we're manually logging each violation, manually analyzing, writing up the analysis. I remember this was how we used to do it at my old office not very long ago. Now we can just click and extract everything into Excel and analyze immediately. That we need to also engage the press, the media, as part of our ally to raise the awareness, raise the public awareness. So a lot of times when governments or UN agencies, they do have the restrictions when it comes to engaging the press, engaging the media. That's where civil society comes in, because they have more or less the freedom to engage the media and the press. And that's a very, very powerful tool. I guess we're on to our last question now. My last question is, now with both countries having an easy to access digital monitoring platform, with Mexico about to launch it very soon, and with an AI detector and crowdsourced monitoring forum that really provide a lot of support for monitoring. If you have to name 3 challenges that you are still facing with monitoring and or enforcement, what would they be? Maybe Laura can start first.
I think that, like I was saying recently, a challenge is to disseminate the existence of the platform, to encourage citizen reports. Nowadays, we talk with health professionals, for example, and they don't know where they can report a violation that they see. And it's very important to talk about this platform, and that it is easy to report. And when you report, then you see that after a verification process, your report is being published. So I think that that's a big challenge, to make the platform being known by health professional, advocates, activists. It's also important to disseminate the databases, that there is this information that is collected and is public, because it's updated. It's very important when, for instance, when you publish a paper about the monitoring of the code and the national laws, maybe you are publishing things that you collected 2 years ago. And a company may say, well, no, but our practices have changed. We are not now violating the code in the country. And Observamas is the way to show that if some practices are going on, it's information that is updated, and that's very important. For instance, in Argentina, Argentinian Society of Pediatricians always organizes Congress that has the sponsorship of commercial formula companies. But they have a policy that they would not receive sponsorship of companies that violate the code. So this is public information that Observamas is provided. They could not say that they don't know that Danone Nutricia Vago is violating the code in the country. And so they couldn't accept that sponsorship. And I think that it's important to disseminate this information. So, for instance, health professionals may demand their association not to accept that kind of sponsorships. Companies also invest many money in washing their brand image, in their reputation. That is a practice that has been documented in a Lancet series of commercial determinants of health. So I think that also this public information has to be used to expose that that is a brand washing, and that they are not social responsible as they say they are. I think that this is a challenge, but the information collected in the platform is very powerful, and it can be used by social society organizations in these ways, for instance, for advocacy and for accountability.
We'll always come against the challenges including we'll never have enough or the same level of resources that companies or industry has to they to compete with them. So they're promoting their products, they are lobbying with politicians, they're lobbying with policymakers. We'll never have that level of resources. But I also have to say that in recent years, WHO, UNICEF, and a number of civil society organizations have done a ton of work at the international level as well, at the international level, to raise the awareness of this issue of the inappropriate, unethical marketing of breast milk substitutes companies and companies that produce related products as well. There's several huge reports that came out in the past few years. The Lancet series only focusing on marketing and industry practices to undermine breastfeeding. So these are very, very positive and also very, very, I want to say optimistic, but it's yeah, these are very promising things that happened in the past few years as we are battling ongoingly with industry and companies. So Matthias, what about you? What do you think of what are the three challenges that you can think of?
Thank you very much. I mean, some of the maybe three or four challenges is, of course, ensuring that the institutional follow-up of the complaints, of the evaluations, because even though we have a strong evidence is being collected through this platform and the data is available for all the public, which before it was kind of like a secret information, enforcement is often delayed or halted if there is like no designated authority that clearly mandates on code violations, which in Mexico there is one. But as I said, the information of what exactly they're doing or what sanctions are being taken in place is not clear. And therefore, we believe that through evidencing who is not complying with the code, some changes will happen, hopefully. And as I said, also through this work we're doing with the government. Another critical barrier can also be the lack of awareness and capacities at the local level. And particularly here, I want to mention health professionals who are still, and we have all the evidence for that, unfamiliar with the code. They have heard about it, but they don't know their recommendations. And we also know that they are the ones recommending the use of breast milk formula. So that is important. So it is important to strengthen their capacities and also for there to be some reactions when they are like recommending this product if it is not like medically needed. So, and also, as you mentioned, Constance, the industry interference also remains very persistent, remains a persistent obstacle because they, just to mention an example, they pay for people to advocate or lobby with Congress people or deputies so that so that the legal framework is designed for their own interest. So that is also a big challenge we have to work for, and that's why the legal framework needs to be reinforced. But also, and that's what that challenge is something that we are trying to deal with, is that by having a system that is users friendly so that it not only allows agencies to monitor the code, but also health workers, civil society, and the general public. Then, and if it's easy and meaningful for them because they see that actions are being taken, I think that is something. If we really get the general public and the decision makers to get involved in the use of this application, then I think that we will be able to see some changes by and less violations being detected. So basically, to address these gaps, we require to reinforce advocacy, definitely capacity buildings, particularly with health professionals. And basically, all this evidence will help us build a stronger legal framework, legal mechanisms to translate into monitoring and meaningful actions that really have an impact on breastfeeding practices in Mexico, and hopefully our experience can also be transmitted to other countries so that they can do the same.
Thank you so much. So when you're mentioning health workers, professionals, it also reminds me of, I've been to countries where we've also made the observation and the conclusion that it's much easier to get health professionals on our side when the code is actually incorporated into pre-service education. So before they come out to work and be approached by companies, industry, when they are in school, in nursing school, in medical school, and they should already be familiarizing themselves with the code and the principles and the spirit of the code. So it's much easier if we incorporate that in pre-service education rather than after they've come out to work, and then to try to sensitize health workers. I think it's much more harder to do that. So it reminds me of that. So I guess we are at the end of our code chat now. Thank you, both of you, very much for joining and also for sharing your very valuable insights. And after this session, we will have a Q&A session for people who have registered and signed up. Thank you, everyone, for staying for this. There was a request from UNICEF Zimbabwe, who are with us here on the call as well. They would like to just share their country experience with monitoring. And if we could give them just 5 minutes. So Zimbabwe, if you can take the floor for 5 minutes to just briefly talk about your country experience in monitoring. Then right after that, we will go into our live Q&A session, okay? So can we give the mic to Kutsai from UNICEF Zimbabwe?
Thank you so much, Constance. Thank you, Laura and team. I'll try to be very brief because I'll just quickly present on the on the law side, on the code side. So we've got a new statutory instrument for the Code of Marketing of Breast Milk Substitutes, but with it, of course, we've got new problems, and that is really around infiltration, undue influence of our policymakers, and also the use of social media influencers. We're actually seeing some that have been directly targeted. And then one of the challenges that we're finding with the new code law is we have been very explicit in terms of digital marketing, but not explicit in terms of who in government is supposed to be responsible for the actual digital monitoring. Is it Ministry of Health? Is it Ministry of Information? Is it the Ministry of ICT? Is it the Post and Telecommunications colleagues? And so that lack of coordination has already given us a bit of a challenge. And then whilst we've been doing and looking at our code, we've come across, sentiments, public sentiments, and how those are being used against us. As an example, an outcry over donations. So you've got a lot of churches and church-based organizations or faith-based organizations using their social pages for marketing, so that digital marketing. And a lot of people look at it as we're doing church business and not we are contravening the law. And then of course the divide and rule within Ministry of Health, but also with caregivers, and being able to monitor that. What are the caregivers and the general public saying about us? A lot of it is my body, my choice. I should be able to access the kind of information that I want. Why are you now going to monitor what I have access to and what I look for? And then of course seeing that citizen engagement and the role of consumer awareness really needs to be amplified, understanding that right now, like I said, new law, but new problems. So we are drinking from a poison chalice, because we've got breast milk substitutions that just make one little drop, but the ripple effects are really go far and wide. And just being able to monitor that, or even when they retract, a lot of the damage has already been done. And we've also been seeing a situation where we're being outmarketed. So we're being outmarketed and outplayed. So we know that whilst we've got this new, really strong law, we are years behind what we need to do in terms of digital monitoring. And I'll ask Kuda to maybe just come in around what they have managed to do so far.
Thank you very much. So, is this all from Zimbabwe, or?
I think
I'll just say that as the Zimbabwe civil society organizations in scaling up. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes. Go on, please.
All right. So I was saying that. In short, I'll just give our experience as the Zimbabwe civil society organizations in scaling up nutrition, in developing a code monitoring tool. So sometime in 2020, we developed an online code monitoring tool using the Kobo toolbox, and it's a simple tool that monitors can use in reporting code violations in real time, and it also allows monitors to receive feedback on actions that would have been taken. And after learning from Vietnam's experience in terms of monitoring the code using digital methods, we felt that there is quite room for improvement on our tool, such that it incorporates virtual assistants in monitoring online code violations. And like Kudzi indicated, that we are seeing an emergence of quite a number of digital code violations, and as a network, we feel that we can. All right, so I was just finishing off by saying that as a nation, we want to be the first country to roll out this initiative in Africa. And we hope that, through these discussions, we'll be able to engage with partners such that we'll be able to roll out this online code monitoring tool. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you very much. So we will open up for Q&A right now. We'll do 20, we can afford 20 minutes of Q&A from now. So people who want to ask a question, that you can indicate with raising your hand. Okay, there's Heather Gates. Heather, would you mind identifying which organization you're from and which country, please?
Hi, my name is Heather. I'm from Canada, and I represent the Baby Friendly Council of Newfoundland and Labrador, which is a province within Canada.
Great. Please go ahead with your question.
My question, I did ask it during the session. I'm interested in your thoughts and views on civil society and the impact of civil society participation. I was wondering if you could give me some examples in your country of the type of civil society organizations that would commit to such a venture. That's my question. Thank you.
Maybe Laura, can you take this, and then I'll just complement your answer if yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Laura. Thank you very much for the answer. In Argentina, in 2021, 14 civil society organizations meet together and build a network called Network for the Code Law. And we are working since that time. SANAR Foundation integrates the netcode for the law of the code in Argentina. This network did a document to have a diagnostic of the situation of the legal norms in Argentina, and we elaborate a project of law that was presented in the Congress, because we have many provisions of the code in our legal framework nowadays, but there are some important gaps. A very important gap is the age that is considered. In Argentina, we consider that a breast milk substitute is a product for children up to 24 months of age, and not 36 as is the international standard. So a lot of the advertisement of the marketing activities is being done advertising that kind of breast milk substitutes for children older than 2 years. And well, we have to close that gap. And also we have to address the sponsorship of health professional associations and the avoidance of conflict of interests in the country, specifically in the health system. That are areas that are not covered in our legal framework, and they are necessary. If I may share the screen, I may show the organization, the civil society organizations that are integrating this network. All of them are free of conflict of interests. This is the a QR for the Instagram account of the network, and the Linktree link where we have all our productions of meetings, documents, and well, we still continue working. And nowadays, the project has to be entered again in the Congress, but there is no, nowadays it's not a good moment for that. So we are doing another kind of activities to build awareness about the code in the country.
Thank you, Laura. Just for, very quickly, on the Observer Mass website, if you look at the bottom of the Observer Mass website, you'll also see a number of civil society organizations that
Yes.
are a part of developing and also implementing this tool. Unfortunately, Matias from UNICEF Mexico is not here with us. Our podcast was actually pre-recorded earlier in the month. Matias is on vacation right now, and he's currently on the plane. But I can speak briefly about Mexico. So the situation in Mexico was that UNICEF Mexico plays a very critical role as the focal point, connecting different civil society organizations that are related to this work, to code monitoring and IYCF in the country. So if you go to the Código Lactancia website, you will see a coalition of civil society organizations, including La Leche League Mexico, including IPFAN Mexico, including ACLAM, which is the lactation consultants organization that's certified by IBCLC. So a conglomerate of organizations, civil society organizations that are involved in this work. But the critical thing is that there needs to be a central focal point coordinating this. And so UNICEF Mexico has played this role, and also connecting civil society organizations to the government and the enforcement agencies as well. So that's how this platform came about in Mexico. And as I mentioned in the podcast as well, that a lot of times the development of these tools are not just about the tools themselves. We're using these tools at platforms to bring different parties together to reinvigorate the momentum of code monitoring in the country. So I hope that gives you an overview of what happens with civil society organizations. And same with Argentina as well. UNICEF Argentina also played the role of the focal point in Argentina that brought together different civil society organizations in the country to be a part of developing this Observer Más platform as well. So, sorry, any other questions from the participants right now? Yes, Mian Sylvester. Sorry if I'm butchering your name. Okay, maybe we'll come back to Mian because your mic is still muted. I also see Kutzai. You have your hand up. Do you have a question? We go to Kutzai first, then we'll come back to Mian. Kutzai, you
yes,
need
thank
to,
you.
yeah, okay.
Thank you so much, Constance. Maybe my question is just around considering the work that I think Laura mentioned around the working with Meta and having Meta as an ally in this. And I'm just wondering if there's some kind of thought from this team to make this more of a global exercise so that, you know, it's not country specific, but maybe have this approach where we are working with, you know, like Meta as an example, and where we really approach these from their perspective. Because I'm just thinking that, you know, certain countries, maybe for lack of a better word, or developed countries, might have more of an impact than developing countries. And so if there's already like a global initiative to, you know, work with Meta and so on for these code or for digital monitoring, is that a thought that is there? Over.
Maybe I can speak, and if Laura has anything to say. So at Alive and Thrive, I know that we've brought this point up quite often, and we do work together with WHO and UNICEF at the global level as well. So to work together with Meta or social media platforms, or even to talk about sanctioning, which is actually mentioned in the 2023 WHO guidance aimed at restricting digital marketing of breast milk substitutes. So in there, it actually mentions, but that's at the national level, how to restrict social media platforms. But we do have regular conversations with WHO and UNICEF at global level on how to either work with Meta or other platforms to restrict the marketing, or even to have some form of regulation on their activities. So it's a work in progress. I don't think that there's anything that is super concrete at the international level yet right now, but it's something that we will keep pushing. And I also know that civil society organizations working at the global level, such as IPFAN, they're also pushing for that as well. So Laura, do you have anything to add?
I think that it's an interesting proposal. I don't know if it would be easy to implement, because there are many commercial interests in the middle. In a country, in Meta has to be accountable for complying with national laws. So it's there are a little more power of pressure. I don't know at the international level, but it's an interesting proposal.
Thank you. And we have Mian. Are you able to unmute yourself?
What? I didn't understand you, Constance.
Oh, I'm calling for the person who has the hand up. So Neil or Ling, could you please give Mian the access to speak?
We actually turn on the camera and also the audio for
Okay.
Mian, but you can try
Mian,
put
are you
your
able
question.
to unmute yourself and turn on camera and unmute the mic? I'm sorry about that. Would you want to put your question in the chat box or the Q&A box so we can give Maria Nunes? I know Maria from Argentina, right? Oh, okay. So Maria, you have a question. Let's go to you first, and then Mian, can you please try to unmute yourself? And if not, please put your question in the chat box, and we will try to answer that. Okay? Maria, hello.
Hi, Constance. Nice to meet you.
Nice to see you.
Well, I think it's a question for you, but all of you can respond. Understanding that digital marketing actions are multi-platform, how could we effectively oversee practices on TikTok, YouTube, or streaming platforms like Spotify, as well as personalized marketing emails that companies send after users registers on the websites? I know people can already file complaints, but there is still a need to raise awareness on this issue, and the marketing actions are so big that I don't know how can we goes beyond Facebook or Instagram.
So I think that to go beyond Facebook and Instagram is just a matter of technology, and I think that there will be someone out there who can do this technology-wise, as long as we can collect the evidence that there is promotion going on these platforms. But for now, for example, with the existing Observamas Vivid tool, we don't have those platforms included. However, we can also rely on people using the online form to report violations on the other platforms that are not yet included, being crawled by Vivid, and then as a review of the tool periodically, we can add that. But at the same time, we know that there are also many other, people ask like about dark posts, can AI tool or can Vivid go into WhatsApp messages or private messages? And I think that the main concern is that, number one, we do have to abide by the national privacy regulations. We don't want to risk that and become a liability. Secondly, there are also copious amount of violations collected on the public pages that we really need to think about what to do with them, either to make them digestible for enforcement agencies like SANAR has done. You guys have compiled a really really well-written findings monitoring report, and also to disseminate the findings, to raise public awareness through social media, through civil society organizations, and also sometimes the press. And we've also packaged the findings as research papers as well. So yes, we do need to raise the awareness on the violations that are happening in other kind of digital platforms, definitely. But we also shouldn't lose sight of thinking now we have all the findings that we've collected. What do we do with them? And ultimately, one key thing is that we do want to see enforcement actions going on the ground. And that is something that is really lacking for many, many years for most countries. And kudos to Argentina for actually getting enforcement actions going on, and actually actions against companies as well. So yeah, just want to raise that point. Well, does that answer your question, Maria? Yep. Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
So if Mian is still cannot unmute the mic and turn on the camera, I just want to quickly respond to Kotsai from Zimbabwe that the lack of coordination amongst government agencies, who is doing what, who is monitoring, who's taking enforcement actions, does this agency have the authority to enforce? This is an extremely common problem amongst many countries that have laws. So even when countries have laws, legal measures to give effect to the code, a lot of times government agencies wait until something else happens, until they have a comprehensive guidance document, until everything is, all of the instructions and guidance are completed and handed to them. So they do the waiting game, and they wait and wait and wait. And there's always something that they're waiting before they can take action. So that is a very common problem that we see in many countries. And the advice that we would give is that we don't need to wait until the entire country, all of the provinces and all of the states are in order to start acting. Most of the marketing practices are happening at the national level. A lot of actions can be taken at the national level in the capital. Of course, when it comes to health facilities, we need to also look at all the states and provinces. But labeling, digital marketing in the media, all these things are actually planned centrally. So actions can be taken. Some kind of actions can be taken. Yeah.
In Argentina, excuse me, Constance.
Yes, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Labeling is registered by subnational entities. So there we have a problem because there are 4 sanitary authorities in 4 states in Argentina that register the products. So they are admitting labels that are violating the code and the Argentinian food code. And that's not a national issue, it's a subnational problem. So digital marketing is being monitored and enforced by a national entity, but labeling is being registered at a subnational level. So that's a problem, because when modified milk for children older than 2 years is approved with the same design that the other products that are considered breast milk substitutes, then if the label is approved, it can be shown in the advertisements, and the area in charge of enforcement of marketing does nothing about labeling. So we have to to resolve that problem. Labeling being approved at the subnational level. I don't know if I was clear.
Yep. Thank you very much, Laura. I think we actually have to, our 20 minutes up and we have to close. It's come time for us to close. Laura, I don't know if you want to leave your email in the chat box if people have further questions for you. Are you okay with that? If you're okay, please leave your email in the chat box. Only if you're okay.
Yes, I leave Sana Foundation.
Sure. And for Mian, I will. I think I do have your email in the registration list. So, if I can get back to you through email regarding your question, because it will be very long for me to type or to speak here, if that's okay. So, if there's nothing urgent that's jumping out, please. If you have any thoughts or questions, feel free to email me. I have put my email in the chat box, or Laura's email is in the chat box as well. And thank you very much for attending this session. I know it's a rather long session, but thank you for your participation. And hopefully we'll have another opportunity to talk and to meet again. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.